You've heard this 1,000 times, but I promise you've never actually understood it. Saving money will not make you rich. It bleeds you, quietly, year after year, and almost no one will say that to your face. You were taught the opposite your whole life. Spend less, hold tight, stay safe. So you work hard, you guard every dollar, you wait for the perfect moment that never quite arrives. And still, the gap between you and the rich grows wider every single year. The harder you save, the further ahead they pull. It makes no sense until it does. You followed every rule, you did everything right. So why are you falling behind? Here is the part no one shows you. Cash sitting still loses 3 to 8% of its buying power every year. It does not feel like a loss. There is no alarm, no withdrawal slip. No one tells you. But every decade, nearly half of your safe fortune quietly evaporates, and you never spent a cent. That is the part that should scare you. The loss is invisible. It feels like nothing is happening at all. The wealthy do not panic about this. They are not smarter than you. They simply run on a silent rule. They know money was never meant to rest. It was meant to move. Call it the law of motion. Money standing still is not safety. It is surrender. The average person hoards and calls it caution. The wealthy move and call it survival. But underneath that rule sits a deeper secret, the one almost no one ever reaches. Every dollar you spend falls into one of 3 kinds of money. Most people stay trapped in type 1 their entire lives. They never even know the other 2 exist. They live in the basement of the system, never guessing there were floors above them, and only type 3 ever buys you freedom. So which one is your money in right now? Here is where almost everyone gets it wrong, and it hides inside the one word everyone repeats. Tell someone they have to spend money to get rich, and they hear it 2 different ways, both broken. The first group thinks it means showing off. The luxury car, the labels, the life staged for strangers online. The second group gets scared and throws the whole idea out, like it is reckless, like it is dangerous advice meant to ruin them. One group burns money to look rich, the other clings to money out of fear. Both are wrong, and both end up in the same place, broke, confused, and blaming the advice instead of how they heard it. Because the word spend was never the point. Spend here does not mean spend, it means deploy. You send your money out to the field, the way a commander sends soldiers, so it comes back carrying more than it left with. That is not spending, that is sending money to war for you. The person who buys to impress is not deploying. The person too afraid to move is not deploying either. And the people who misread that one word go broke faster than the savers ever do. They spent, but they never deployed. And there is a world of difference between the two. So deploying right comes down to one discipline. Always knowing which type your money is in. There are 3 of them. And you do not just pick one. You climb. Type 1 at the bottom, type 3 at the top. Most people die on the first step. Now, before we climb, we have to face the thing holding you on the ground. Why do people really stay stuck? It is not a lack of money, it is the fear of losing the money they already have. That fear feels responsible, it feels mature, it feels safe. But quietly, brick by brick, it builds the walls of your own cage. The thing you are protecting is the very thing trapping you. Fear preserves limitation. It whispers that doing nothing keeps you safe. It does not. Standing still carries a price too. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. He compared luck to a flooding river. When the river rises, it tears away anyone standing in the open. It drowns the passive and the unprepared. But the one who builds the dams and digs the channels before the flood comes does not get swept away. He directs the force of the water. He turns the same flood that ruins others into power. Fortune rewards the one who prepared, not the one who waited. The flood is coming for everyone. The only question is whether you built for it before it arrived. And history is full of people who understood exactly that. Look at the Medici. They did not bury their gold and guard it. They spent to feed artists, scholars, and relationships, buying the influence that shaped all of Florence. Look at Rockefeller. He rarely let cash sit still in his hands. He reinvested again and again. The poor man holds his money tight. The powerful man keeps it moving. They understood a rule the crowd never learns. Influence is bought long before it is needed. So picture something simple. Imagine you only have two wallets. Wallet A is the wallet you spend to feel okay. Comfort, relief, the quick good feeling that fades by morning. Wallet B is the wallet you deploy to become stronger. The average person reaches into wallet A their entire life, every time, without thinking twice. The wealthy reach into wallet B even when it hurts, even when it feels like a loss in the moment. One wallet buys you a good evening, the other buys you a different life. And wallet B splits into two rungs, type 2 and type 3. The exact two we are about to climb. But do not confuse any of this with gambling. Deploying is not throwing money at hope and closing your eyes. The wealthy block the downside first. They send out only the money that, if it vanished tomorrow, would leave their survival untouched. They never bet the roof over their head. They bet from strength, never from desperation. That one rule separates the bold from the broke. Courage without a floor under it is just gambling in a nicer suit. So here is the truth that reorders everything. Your future is not decided by how much you earn. A bigger paycheck poured into the wrong type of money changes nothing. It just disappears faster. It is decided by which type your money lives in. Now we climb. From the lowest rung up, 3 types. 3 different futures. The choice hides in every dollar. Type 1 is money that leaves and never comes back. Consumption. Comfort beyond your means. Things bought to impress people you will never meet again. You spend it, and the value drops to 0. Instantly. There is no return trip. It felt like living. It was really just leaking. But here is the hidden cost, the one you never feel until it is too late. Every year you leave money frozen in. Type 1. You burn that entire year of compounding. And compounding does not punish you evenly. It saves its cruelty for the end. Delay 5 years, and you do not lose 5 years. You lose the steepest, biggest part of the curve, the tail end, the part that mattered most. You did not just lose the money you spent, you lost everything it could have become. And here is what truly shocks people. Extreme saving is type 1-inch disguise. You thought hoarding was the opposite of waste. It is the same disease wearing a respectable mask. Money does not die because it gets spent. It dies because it gets caged. Locked in a vault, untouched, and called safe, is just another form of surrender. The spender loses money to pleasure. The hoarder loses it to fear. Both still lose. Machiavelli knew the exact shape of this mistake. A lord who only guards his treasury, who never moves his armies, loses the entire kingdom. Not because he was poor. His vault was full to the very top. He lost because he stood still while everyone else moved. A full vault and a frozen mind lose the very same war. So, escaping, type 1 means one thing, turning dead dollars into money that knows how to come home. Money that leaves, goes to work, and returns with reinforcements. That is type 2. Type 2 begins with a completely different question. You stop asking, do I like this? The average person asks if a purchase feels good. The wealthy ask if it makes them dangerous. So you start asking, does this make me better and faster? And you measure it in a way most people are never taught. Do not ask what it costs. Ask how long until it pays itself back. Paid back not in cash, but in new capability. If it returns itself in under 12 months, that is leverage, not an expense. The price is what you pay once. The capability pays you back for years. A purchase worth a few weeks of income can erase years of slow, blind trial and error. The average person counts the price and flinches. The wealthy count the time saved and move. So how do you know money is really entering wallet B? Run it through 3 questions. 1. Does this grow my capability or my future income? 2. Can I actually measure the result? 3. Would I still choose it if no one ever knew I did? 3. No answers, and you are not investing. You are holding. Type 1-inch disguise. The label changed. The result did not. Money that leaves and never comes home. Now do something most people are afraid to do. Put a real price on 1 hour of your time, because here is the trap hiding in plain sight. Anything you could hand to someone else for less than that number, but still grip and do yourself, means one thing. You are paying yourself a miserable wage every single day. Picture the person too cheap to ever hire any help. They cling to the small tasks, the errands, the busy work. For months on end, they feel proud of every dollar saved. They feel responsible and careful. Then a real opportunity appears, worth many times everything they saved, and it is gone before they even look up. That is the trap closing. They guarded their pennies and bled their hours, and hours never come back. Being stingy with money makes you expensive with time. Free is never cheap. It just sends you the bill later. In years you cannot get back. Capability and time. Together, that is the law of motion living at the personal level. But there is a ceiling here, and you will hit it. Because skilled, fast, and still doing everything alone, you eventually run out of yourself. There are only so many hours in a day, and you have already sold every one of them. You become the bottleneck. Breaking through that ceiling is type 3. Now, we reach the layer most people never even touch. This is where money stops buying things and starts buying power. Up here, the rules of the whole game quietly change. One relationship in the right room can replace years of figuring it out alone. You are not paying for the room. You are paying to shorten the distance between you and the opportunity. Think of the Renaissance salon, the closed room where the biggest deals were born, long before the public ever heard a word. The average person waits outside, hoping to be noticed. The wealthy buy their way into the room. Proximity is the price. Access is the asset. The deal is rarely made in public. It is made in the room you were never invited into. Now take it even further. Leverage. Leverage is one person creating the output of many. The average person trades 1 hour for one result. The wealthy buy 100 hours that are not their own. And leverage almost always demands investment first. You pay before you multiply. The ruler who insists on doing everything by his own hand commands a tiny patch of land. The one who commands others with discipline commands an empire. Real power has never come from your 2 hands alone. It comes from directing the effort of others. Do everything yourself, and you own a job. Direct others, and you own a system. Then, go to the final move, the one most people never reach: substitution. This is using money to erase your dependence on any single source. Build many streams, many inputs, many doors out of the same room. Depend on one source, and you are always one bad day from the bottom. Because whoever controls the one thing you need controls you. The more you depend on a single source, the less power you hold. The less you depend, the freer you become. That is not luck. That is design. The man with one income obeys whoever signs the check. The man with many answers to no one. So look at the whole divide, laid out plainly. The poor spend on consumption, that is, type 1. The wealthy spend on position and systems, that is, type 3. One spends to be seen. The other spends to be free. One buys a feeling that fades. The other buys control that lasts. And this is the peak of the law of motion. Type 3 is money moving so hard it begins producing control all on its own. It builds you a backup escape route while it works. You pay now. You buy long-term freedom. Every dollar in type 3 is a soldier that never stops marching for you. So here is the engine that runs the entire law. It comes down to three numbers: 70% for survival, the roof, the food, the foundation, under everything; 20% for type 2, your capability and your time; 10% for type 3, position, leverage, and the calculated bet. Little money? You still start today, because the law lives in the ratio, not in the amount. The man with $100 and the man with $1 million obey the same percentages. This was never about how much you hold. It is about where you point it. And once you see it, your whole question changes. You stop asking, can I afford this? You start asking, which type is this dollar? And what control does it buy me? That one question, asked 1,000 times, is how fortunes get built. Now stack the three types together and watch what happens. Type 2 hands, you capability and time. Type 3 hands, you position, leverage, and substitution. Put them together and you get momentum. Control over your time, your income, your environment, and your future. That is the whole point. Not more money in a drawer, more command over your life. So push your money up, out of type 1, into type 2 and type 3. Do it right, and your money keeps working for you, even while you sleep. Now let us get brutally honest for a moment. Most people are not stuck because they lack money. They are stuck because they parked it in type 1 for an entire lifetime. They were never short on income. They were short on motion. They worked hard for decades, and their money never worked a single day. They confused standing still with staying safe. It cost them everything. Now remember the misunderstanding we started with. Spend was never about spending. It is deploy. It is climbing, dollar by dollar, from type 1 all the way to type 3. And that, right there, is what almost everyone gets wrong. They heard one word and built a whole life on the wrong meaning. Machiavelli understood the real cost of this game. The one who wins it is not the one who is easy to like. It is the one who is respected, because he controls every single move he makes. Likeable loses. Respected wins. That is the game. So make the shift now. Stop thinking of money as something you own. Start thinking of it as something you direct. What you own can be taken. What you direct keeps building. Every dollar must choose one of three types. There is no neutral. Every dollar casts a vote. It builds your freedom, or it builds someone else's. So the next time, before you spend, pause for just 1 second. Ask yourself, which type is this dollar? Does it make me better? Does it buy back my time? Does it build my position? Does it create leverage? Or does it just make me feel okay for a moment, then leave forever? Most people never stop to ask. That silence is exactly why they stay where they are. Because wealth was never about having more. It is about controlling more. Money standing still is surrender. Money climbing to type 3 is power. That is why you must spend to get rich. Not to own more, to control more. But knowing the three types is only half the game. The other half is the three traps. The ones that make people deploy wrong and slide straight back to type 1. That is the next video.